Well, joining me now is retired Army Brigadier General Mark Kimmit and host of the Independent Americans podcast and founder of Independent Veterans of America, Paul Rieckhoff. First of all, gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time and thank you so much for your service. Paul, I'm going to start with you because you were shaking your head as that was being played. You were not a fan of what happened today?
No, I mean, it was kind of like a culture war TED Talk. It was really not just unprecedented, but I think unacceptable, inappropriate. It dragged our military even deeper into the most divisive political fights of our times. We've never had 800 generals come into Washington to get a talking to from a guy who was on TV himself just a couple of months ago. It felt patronizing. It was disruptive to the military. And in the end, what it really was is it wasn't about the generals in the room, and it wasn't about the troops. It was a speech to the country, to their base, maybe to the world, but really a statement from Hegseth and Trump that they have the power to do whatever they want with the most powerful military in the world, whether it's bombing Iran or dragging all the commanders back to D.C. for a talk like this.
There is something else that was said that I will get to today about what the president said with respect to that. But the counter-argument would be, what is wrong with trying to up the physical standards? What's wrong with saying we're going to instill fear in our training to get the best of the best? What's wrong with trying to say, hey, our military members should be groomed the right way? If you start with grooming, it has ripple effects. What's the problem with that?
I think, in essence, it's fine.
Okay.
But why can't you put that in a memo?
Well,
you have to drag 800 generals into Washington. Now, keep in mind, the shutdown's about to happen, so maybe some of them aren't even going to be able to get home. And really what it was a show for the cameras. And they got what they wanted. They got a photo op. They got the content. They can manipulate that and push forward whatever message that they want. But at the end of the day, it didn't improve our national defense. And I think it further politicizes our military in a very important way, and especially because Trump said we are going to wage war on an enemy from within in America. That's the really important subtext of all of this.
I'm going to play that in a minute, but General Kimmit, I want your perspective on this. You know, the counter-argument could be, this felt like it was excluding groups of people that want to serve in the military. Your reaction?
Well, we certainly will know when the recruiting numbers come out. Look, I've got a lot of respect for Paul. I've known him since right after Iraq. He was a good infantryman there. We were there at the same time. But this notion that there's criticism that the commander-in-chief and the Secretary of Defense is bringing their commanders back to look them in the eye and have some human-to-human contact, to suggest that that's wrong, that means we ought to cancel every battalion commander meeting with his commanders, every brigade commander having commanders call, all the way up to when CENTCOM took all of the commanders out of the Middle East and the ambassadors out of the Middle East and brought them back to Tampa for this type of long-term discussion. So I don't think that there's anything wrong with the Secretary of Defense talking to his subordinate commanders and making sure they understand face-to-face. Now, many people say, oh, they could have done this over Zoom or done it over email. Well, Paul, I'm sure you would not want to get your combat instructions from your commander over Zoom or over email. You wanted to see him, look him in the eye, have him see you look him in the eye, because war is a human element. You can't take that away. You can't modernize it. It's not a work-from-home type of mission.
But General Kimmit, to the substance of this, there will those who will say, because they're trying to up these physical standards, it may exclude female members. By saying, hey, we're doing away now with the IG filing complaint process, no more anonymous complaints, no more repeat complaints, no more working on an eggshell, walking on eggshell policy. The substance of it, did you have any issues?
Well, let me give you two examples. Number one, this time last year, I was up at Fort Lewis, Washington for the 50th anniversary of the stand-up of the 2nd Ranger Battalion, one of the best units in the U.S. military. There were women there, women in that unit. Nobody's saying they're up the standards. They're just saying we're not going to lower the standards. There is a standard that must be met. If you can meet it, Rangers lead the way. Join the unit. If you can't, there's another unit for you.
Okay, so something that Paul talked about, I want your opinion, both of you. The president talked about using the military against the enemy within. Let's play that.
Last month, I signed an executive order to provide training for a quick reaction force that can help quell civil disturbances. This is going to be a big thing for the people in this room because it's the enemy from within, and we have to handle it before it gets out of control.
What does that mean to you?
I don't think Portland is a national security threat right now. And I think many folks felt like that was part of the politicization that we experienced. If it wasn't a political speech, if it wasn't for optics, then why was it broadcast live? Sir, when was the last time you had a meeting with the Secretary of Defense, I'm talking to the general who I respect tremendously, where it was broadcast on national TV, where the entire world could watch? It was really unbecoming of the office and of the military. And then there was this important substance where the president continues to deploy federal troops and National Guard troops without consulting Congress, without any authorization from Congress, in Chicago, in potentially New York, in Portland, as he continues to expand our national presence in a way we never have before. Not to mention, he's getting no congressional authorization for hits on Iran, for striking boats off of Venezuela. The military operations continue to expand with no guardrails. And I think that's something that should concern conservatives, and liberals, and independents.
General Kimmit, what did you take away from maybe using the military against the enemy within?
Well, I'm completely against that. We don't use the U.S. military against our own people. There are times, as Paul said, that we have national security issues. I mean, I'm in a town right now that burned to the ground in 1968. They had to deploy federal troops in because of the riot. There were numerous casualties in Detroit in 1968, even when the troops went in. But I agree with Paul. Portland is not a national security issue that we need to deal with. Now, with regards to the use of the military, as he would say, against boats in the ocean, so on and so forth, let's be very clear. President Obama had 120 drone strikes, none of which had congressional authorizations. There hasn't been a congressional authorization since the authorization for the use of military force, which got me and Paul into Iraq together. So I think presidential prerogative should be given to elements that are direct threats to the United States. Yeah. I'll concede the point to Paul on the issue of using them inside of the United States.
Well, I will just say this. It was quite the statement to the country and quite the statement to the world, and we can continue to analyze it maybe for another day. Lieutenant Paul P.J. Rykoff, General Mark Kimmit, thank you both so much. Appreciate it.